I am. Hopefully, I'm not going to repeat things that you've already looked at, but I'm going to give you some of the ways that I would go about this. Um, Everyone has a different way of researching, so I'm glad that you reached out to that other librarian because everyone's going to approach it differently, and you might find that the way that somebody approaches it is the best way. And so, reach out to everybody. We have got a lot of librarians. The ones up at Eccles are really good too. Um, the way that I would approach this and I found some good results, but you get to determine whether this is hitting it or not. My favorite one, let's go to databases from the library homepage. A lot of people in social work love to go to the database called PsycInfo, but I found that it's not super great for things that are in actual practice. So when somebody's going out doing something and then writing up a case study, PsycInfo might not cover that as well as sociological abstracts. Now, we do have social work databases, but as a social work librarian, I put sociological abstracts at the top. I'm not convinced that some of the social work databases are a great general place to start. I think they're good for doing systematic reviews, but we'll get into that. So, sociological abstracts. And I started out by typing in domestic violence. That one's pretty canonical, which it describes something that's reflected in government policy, psychological practice, social practice, all sorts of different things. It's deliberately called domestic violence. So I think we're good with that one. And again, I put it in quotes, so it finds that as a discrete keyword instead of domestic here and violence there. And I do this in uppercase, partially because some databases would look for and if it's lowercase, partially just remember where I'm putting in that Boolean operator. And then reporting. When you do a search, we'll find that there's thousands of results in this database. And it's like, whoa, that's really awesome. But then we run into this thing where it's like journalists' perceptions. So there's a different description of reporting. So that kind of throws us off. So you could go into advanced search and do not journalism, not news, but you might run into issues. So I wanted to show you a different way around that. So go to advanced search. Oh, and here it's already filled in. Well, that's no fair. I want to do the little typing thing. In the advanced search, it's obviously remembering my search results, but I put domestic violence in anywhere. When we're talking about anywhere, that's not full text of the article. It's just going to be the description of the article. So the things you'd find in a citation, author, sometimes the abstract, keywords and things like that. So you don't have to worry about the relevance getting washed out in the full text. But for the next one, I have reporting, but then I also put in some of those other words that you had talked about, IPV, disclosure, or re-traumatization. I put the operator or, so it's going to look for that specifically, but it's only going to look in the title of the article itself. This will help us weed out those things that it might show up elsewhere as a keyword. And so you can narrow down to a variety of different things. You can look in publication title, names of authors, keywords, subject headings, all sorts of different ways. Document title seems to be pretty good at drilling down. So I'm going to search in that. Oh, and here's like a bunch of things you can specifically look in, scholarly journals, if you wanted to avoid some of those other things. There's document types. There's a lot of ways of narrowing it down. I don't often do those, though. I like to see what I get. So it's only 239, and we still get the journalist perceptions, but we get some of the other ones in there. So you would just have to read through, but it's a much tidier list than 3,000. So you could get women's disclosure, reporting maltreatment. I don't know if this is from the agency level. Here's IPV. And you start to see these would be easier to look through. When you're doing a review, also, I would recommend going into a specific time range. So you can see this one goes back to 1995. When you're doing a systematic review, especially, you would often give a date range that was relevant to a particular policy, I'd recommend going up to the current 10 years. And that will help you figure out what's trending right now. A lot of information, especially related to self-reporting disclosure and things like that, a lot of information and how people communicate has changed because of smartphones. So think about 2006 and 7 as that timeline. But this might help. Also in, where's my advanced search? There it is. If you're just totally annoyed with journalism and things like that, you can add a row and then use the not operator. And just omit journalism. So we had 239. Now we're omitting from our search results anything that has, oh, it took out 2 of them. No, it's still there. Oh, it's because it's not journalism. Or it's journalists. Oh, okay. How you get around that? You do a star. So now it's journalism, journalists. Ooh, the cheek of these journalists. There we go. Oh, but there's still news reporting. You get to figure out how to wend your way through this. But there's I think the best way is just comb through the list. Now, what do you do if you want to find systematic reviews on this? Let me get rid of this not journalism. In your search, you would just do and in quotes, type in systematic review. A systematic review is something that an article is going to overtly say, this is our methodology. We did a systematic review. And there's going to be many fewer of them, and some of them might be in citations. So you just have to look for it. Doesn't look like there's a lot, but it looks like they point to some other ones. If there's too few of them, you might want to back out. And you could just get rid of, if you just wanted to see examples of systematic reviews, just back out and look at domestic violence, systematic review. Or you could look at particular populations, gender, constructions, and things like that. And again, on this one, you would want to go by the newest ones first, so you can see how people are doing it in that field of practice. And you can do that same thing. So I'm looking at my notes. So I'm going to do homeless with a star in case they're doing homelessness, and systematic review. And then we wanted and identity construction. There's only 3 because the term identity construction may be problematic, especially if it's tied to that specific population. So I would recommend doing 2 different systematic review searches. I would do one where you're just doing systematic review and identity construction. This one might be better in PsycInfo. And then another one where you do homeless or homelessness and systematic review. And so systematic reviews are really detailed and difficult to do. And so it might be that you're in a better position just to look at them chunk by chunk and see how systematic reviews were done for those and gather evidence and then fold it together like a deck of cards. The metaphor escapes me. But you're on track, and I think you're doing good. Other databases to consider, well, your top 3 for what you're going to look at, and then contact me, and I'm happy to help, obviously. Sociological abstracts I love to death. PsycInfo, very popular with social work folks. And then Scopus is the one that you can sort by impact, but it has all this multidisciplinary stuff that's all over the place. So you can do a good catch-all. And let me know how it goes. And don't give up. What you're doing is actually rather hard and complex and immensely frustrating. And my colleagues and I are here to help you out. So have a good break and see you soon.